Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And of course, it would not be, it could not be, we could not traverse the Seahawks multiverse on this Thanksgiving week without the protector of that multiverse, Mr. Phil Leidick. Boys, let's start off with what's most important, a very happy Thanksgiving to us, the flock, and all people of Earth. Brandon, how are you feeling about what's shaping up for you for Thanksgiving, bud?
Oh boy. It is Thanksgiving week, and I will be enjoying Thanksgiving. I don't know if I have like a solid plan, I haven't made a game plan for Thanksgiving, like how I'm going to lay out my plate yet. I'm just too early in the planning process to have set my game plan for what I'm going to eat.
Mr. Phil, he's in flux like this New York Jets organization are about to go face, right? Like they're firing GMs. They have no game plan. I know your plate. I know there's going to be a lot of that good gravy you love so much, Mr. Phil, the star of the show, that gravy. Are you making it again this year?
Oh, yes. We're going to have a great Thanksgiving. My mom, my sister, and my wife have all been planning out basically the menu. They ask me about things, and I, of course, just give this answer. As long as there's gravy, we're good, right? So
There we
we
go.
got gravy. Everything can be good. Did smoke a bunch of meat for the family that's in last night. We had a good time. Some spicy jalapeno poppers. They were pretty good, and some
Nice.
variety of ribs. And yeah, so we've been enjoying some food. My wife came up with some different family fun games that were kind of silly last night. So it's been a corny, cheesy, fun family week with the teachers in my life being off this week. So we're having a good time.
There we go. Well, look, I think something that could make all of the all of our Hawkra and all the flockers Thanksgiving that much better is going to be an amazing preview show, which you, Mr. Phil, you put together the theme every single week. So we're excited for that. And Brandon, before we get into that, what do we want? What do we want the flockers out there to be doing on this Thanksgiving? Hey, we're always in a giving spirit. What can they do to be thankful for? I don't know, the many podcasts we put together.
Well, they can be thankful by helping to support the show. And really, when it comes to support, just even the easy things like giving us a like, subscribing to the show. Also, you could help us out by supporting our partners like MyBookie. You can go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code HAKRA. You're going to get your deposit doubled. You're going to get you have an opportunity to get into their Telegram prize pool contest that it starts out at 15,000, grows by 5,000 for every new subscribers out on Telegram. And all you have to do is join that Telegram channel by December 1st. You lock in your share. And if you're already subscribed, you're automatically in. And so it's going to be a big jackpot Thanksgiving for MyBookie, mybookie.ag, and use that promo code HAKRA.
Awesome. Use that promo code, as Brandon said. Have a great Thanksgiving, of course. And look, I am still, when we get to PNW Prop Stars later this week, I'm still riding that JSN train because all the data and all the eye candy, it is showing me that JSN is getting a lot of touches. And I think we're probably going to get into a little bit of that in this breakdown, Mr. Phil, as well. So why don't we get to it, boys? Mr. Phil, do we have a previously with the protected this week with the Jets?
I've watched a lot of the Jets games. I didn't do a previously. They are toward the bottom in DVOA, of course,
Yeah.
especially on offense. We just watched them with the Cardinals. We've watched a variety of their games. For whatever reason, they've been on prime time. I think we have a good idea what's going on with the Jets. Lots of unrest, lots of concern about lots of concern about front office. So I didn't break it down that way, Clinton. I'm sorry to disappoint, but maybe it's not a disappointment, just not putting people through that.
Well, and you have to go back, I think, before the bye week, too, just to look at how they played their last game. They actually played the Indianapolis Colts pretty tough. It came down to, the final moments of the game, and what was it, just a 1-point victory by the Colts. So it was a comeback win. And it's a little surprising because, playing a rookie, well, not a rookie necessarily, but a rookie kind of in just as much as he's played, but Anthony Richardson against that Jets defense. I was a little bit surprised the defense didn't do more to shut him down, especially with how ineffective Jonathan Taylor was. I expected him to have a bigger game, but they limited him relatively well.
Yeah, the thing for me with that was like, Anthony Richardson is, his completion percentage is somewhere around 50%. Like it's just,
Right.
it's really bad. And he's throwing the deep ball really well, right? So he is taking lots of deep shots.
But he
And
overthrew like what was it, a tight end that was like 3 yards from him
yes,
as he's
yes.
trying to run outside the pocket.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of like clues out there for how you could attack them with that Indianapolis game. And Indianapolis has now strung together a couple of wins. So the Jets hung tough but still lost. Look, the Jets have talent everywhere. I think it was somebody's tweet the other day was like the Seahawks are a team and the Jets are a collection of pretty good players. And there's a flip there. They are not a cohesive group right now. So can we take advantage of that? I think that's what we're going to explore. And of course, if we're doing this on What If, and there must be a handcrafted theme, a unique theme. So Mr. Phil, what is this week's theme as we head into Thanksgiving week?
Well, of course, I would have loved to done a butt fumble theme with us, of course, having Sanchez announcing our game. I mean, we're literally sandwiched between Sanchez calling our games Sunday and next Sunday, and that's what you always think of when you think of the Jets. It's like still the number one gif if you pull up Jets, I think, is the butt fumble play. But I just didn't know how many categories you're going to have involving butt fumble, so we couldn't quite do that. Plus, the greatest holiday in the entire world we have this week, which is thankful. I love being around thankful people. Hawks have a lot of reason to be thankful. Even if our team wasn't doing well, we American men have a lot to be thankful for with our families and blessings. So why not do a thankful theme? But along with that, we're going to kind of twist it and talk about some of the potential foods people love. I looked at a lot of the favorites people have. So our categories that Clinton will get to go first on are mac and cheese, turkey, gravy, mash, and there's a few different mashes people like at Thanksgiving, cranberry, and stuffing. And so with this matchup, as we prepare to go to New Jersey, play the Jets, where do you want to go first, Clinton?
Yeah, I'm one of those folks when I put my plate together, and by the way, I always have a game plan for that plate there, Brandon.
Okay.
But when I put my plate together, I tend to eat, especially a Thanksgiving meal, I tend to eat the perimeter, or I eat the quote unquote side dishes first. And I think the A1 goat of all that, especially when made well, is that stuffing. So first off the board, give me that stuffing.
Stuffing is fantastic. Clinton, what if our Hawks can stuff one more team in the run game? Would that alone be enough for us to leave New Jersey with the win? So are we going to stuff them? And if we do, is that all it's going to take to get a win in this matchup, Clinton?
All it's going to take? No, it'll take more than that. It'll go a very, very long way. And the sequence that I could see happening is if we can treat Breece Hall and Allen, who's a good backup, by the way. He's been good. Yeah, he's solid, man. And he's not even just like a decent spell, like in spots. He's outshined Breece Hall this year, just straight up in a bit more effective back. It'll go a long way, and here's why. Because if you could put Rodgers into third and longs, because you're being successful in earlier downs and just kind of following the bouncing ball of when do you run the ball more often, Rodgers will take his chances, just like, and then it becomes, is he going to be as effective as Purdy was on third and Juwan? And the answer is no, because at this point of his career, Rodgers is full of hubris, and I'm not bashing the guy. He just is. Like, I know there's lots of people that hate Rodgers. I can give or take him. I don't care. But he throws off his back foot a ton. He trusts he can put the ball everywhere and anywhere. And with the kind of coverage we saw versus the Cardinals and versus the Niners, and for most of the game versus the Rams, like, good luck. So I see it kind of matriculating that way. Now, the offensive side of the ball, I'll just leave some meat on the bone, pun intended, for Brandon to talk about. But, is it enough alone? No. Football is two sides of the coin plus special teams. We'll have to do more, but it will be a huge percentage of the pie if we could just shut this Jets run game down. And I think we can.
Okay. And of course, this isn't necessarily what I believe. I'm just throwing it out there to get some
Oh,
insight. Just
I get it.
keep shutting down the run game. Is that all it's going to take? Or what do you think, Brandon?
Well, I think that if you were to tell me that the Seahawks will get at least their usual amount of points, their average amount of points, then I would say that that it would be enough alone, because you make the Jets one dimensional. Brees Hall is a really solid part of that offense.
Yeah.
And if it's similar to what we saw with Arizona, you shut down James Conner, and now the Cardinals are one dimensional. I feel like the weapons are a tick better in New York, because you have Garrett Wilson out on the outside. You have Devontae Adams. And so they have two strong weapons at receiver, where, McBride, and then, pick a dude, Marvin Harrison, not quite there yet. But I have a little more respect for the tandem of Garrett Williams, Devontae Adams. But I think just making them one-dimensional to where you have a pretty solid group of defensive backs that can help shut that down. Yeah, I think the run game does mean that much to the Jets, that if you can slow it down, our Seahawks offense could do their thing, then we'll get our win.
It is amazing when you consider it sparks some thoughts. When a team's run game is shut down, it makes it really tough. And for that alone, I'm kind of amazed what Geno and the rest have been able to do
Right?
when we've shut our own run game down. I'm not even ready to give credit to the opponents like maybe I should. Maybe it's just the fan in me. We've kind of not succeeded at the run game and still won games. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
You hurt yourself when you don't get a run game going.
I know, and people are harp on us like, why you guys hammer on the run game so much? It's because it's that important. Again, look what happened to the Cardinals. They didn't have it, and they could barely do anything. They scored 6 points.
I want to just say real quick too, like Brandon, there were some YouTube commenters, which, hey, we welcome all the comments unless you're being a D-bag. Don't do that. Especially to women. Don't do that out there. But YouTube.com/Seahawkers podcast, they drop the comments on there. But there were folks, like you were saying, Brandon, like, why do you guys keep harping on that? We have to run the ball. We have to run the ball. You just answered it there too. But it's also like, look, go watch playoff football. Like, the Chiefs didn't win because Pat Mahomes is a huge part of it, but they won their Super Bowls because they were the more effective run team in those Super Bowls, which is what you have to do in January and February. And it's just philosophy, which you and Adam have talked about like for months now, months and months. And by the way, I hear other Seahawk punditry and folks who we do 4 or 5 months later be like, well, this is just philosophy. It's like, well, yes. And you guys have been talking about that literally since the hire. So hat tip to you and Adam.
Absolutely. All right. There's a reason people that get made $10 million as coaches, you ask them their plan on defense, and they're just assuming you're going to start with the run game, and they start talking about how they're going to shut down their run because it helps you win. If you shut down the opponent's run, you have a huge advantage of winning. All the other things are available when you can do that.
Yep.
Brandon gets to go next. And by the way, commenters, put your favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal in the comments. We'd love to hear and argue over what the most important sides and dishes are. Go ahead, Brandon.
All right. I am going to go with mac and cheese because this is one that I have not traditionally grown up having as like a staple dish on Thanksgiving, but it's one that I know and I'm discovering more and more that it is for a lot of people, and I'm a little bit jealous now.
Yeah.
Why can't we have mac and cheese on Thanksgiving? Why?
Yeah, if you talk to Garrett, my family, when we go by Guaranteed Barbecue, they all I can't have it, but they all love his mac and cheese combo with the smoked meat. They just rave about that thing. So
it's great. Yeah. I want that on Thanksgiving.
Maybe Garrett could
Brandon. Yeah, Brandon, you can do this. You are a free existing male, or you can do this, right? You can talk. You can talk.
Am I in charge of making this dish now?
I think you might be signing up for it if you want it. Yeah. So
see what happens, Brandon. Tell us how it goes.
All right.
Speaking of questions, Brandon, what if Coach Mac, I know he doesn't prefer being called that, but it's our show. We can call him what we want. What if Coach Mac can keep us from being trapped by this game? List some concerns you have with us being the cheesy road faves in this matchup.
I just think that this is a team that you don't want to overlook, especially with another divisional matchup coming back and going on the road then in Arizona, and thinking that, kind of listening to all the hype and turmoil around the Jets and forgetting about the fact that this is a very talented Jets team. We talked about Breece Hall in the last question. I brought up the receivers. Aaron Rodgers, he can still make the throws. Now you talked about Phil, how he's throwing off his back foot a little bit. Yeah, but there's also times where he can still hit those throws deep, and I worry about getting beat by those deep plays a little bit if you're because they can come at any time, and he could do it. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball, and they have a lot of talent there too. So I think it's more of if you look at this team just based on their record at 3-8, it really takes away from a lot of the talent that they have there. And I don't want to overlook this team and I have to imagine they're looking at the tape. They're not listening to the radio clips, which, anything out there about the Jets right now is, everybody getting fired and what's Aaron Rodgers going to do next year. They have talented players, and on defense, they have a defensive line that you really have to worry about. So I would expect Coach Mack is focused on the matchups more so than the press clippings. But don't get caught up in that.
How about you, Clinton? Anything to add on this question?
Yeah, I would just go a little bit more on that defensive line like that. Look, how many sacks do we give up to a Cardinals team that, albeit, was putting a little bit more pressure on these Jets and the Bears, but we gave up 5 sacks, and Geno was a Houdini on at least 2 of the plays that end up going.
But he sacked himself on a couple too.
Okay. I mean, I guess, but maybe the guys aren't open, so right. That's a coverage sack, right? So like where we lay the blame is fine. With that though, like the Cardinals got home 5 times, and Geno escaped at least 2 or 3 times. That it could have been worse. And then you look at this line, and you got Quinnen Williams, and you got Will McDonald. Will McDonald's got 8 sacks. He's a baller. He's good. He causes havoc. Quinnen Williams, last time he played guys like that, the Dexter Lawrences of the world, or the Rams middle interior, didn't look good to me, right? So that's it. We got LeMaya and Haynes maybe playing a little patty cake on who goes when and who gets the percentage of snaps. That's not great. Laken Tomlinson has proven to be a well below average guard. That's not great. That still worries me. It's going to be a cold day, like 37 degrees, not a lot of wind and sun, so not horrible, but just a cold day out there. This Jets team at 3-8, to me, it's like, will they have pride? Will they come out and play for their pride and for contracts? I don't know. Or will they just say, you know what, we're calling it an early holiday ourselves at 3-8 already? They might, but I don't expect that. They're professionals.
Yeah, and if you get killed in the trenches on offense, you just spark them with something bad that can happen. A play can go awry very quickly, and that just inspires the whole team to get thrilled when all of a sudden they get a turnover score or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah. And Phil, that's probably the crux of why I answered the first question as like, no, just stopping their run is not enough because of the flip side of what we just talked about.
Okay, good. So we're down to 4. Turkey, gravy, mash, or cranberry, Clinton?
Okay, I think this gets a bum rap. Everybody gets a bum. Everybody goes bananas that the turkey's not good. Get out of town. Turkeys, get the dark meat, put gravy on it, put it with the other stuff. It's good. Stop.
You know who I love, Clinton? I love people that like white meat, so they can save extra dark meat for me. And
there you go. Exactly.
I can have all the leftover dark meat I want on my awesome leftover down the road. So I just love white meat eater people.
Yes, take that. Take the dry stuff. Leave us the goods.
Yes. Clinton, what if Geno can carve up the Jets DBs? Now, this is not an easy carve job. They've invited you in, some difficulty. There's some challenging bones to cut around. It can burn your fingers a little bit. How should he serve up success to his playmakers against this particular group of pass defenders?
Not easy. They are good, and if you listen to like local WFAN, like New York radio, they are getting on Sauce at this point, and it's just because, well, just because he's getting
Tackling.
beat, he's getting beat more this year, more just. And I think it's more natural with a team that's 3-8 versus maybe a player. And DJ Reed's a heck of a player. Michael Carter's a good, a good DB as well. So that's a good room, and they have some pretty good linebacker play as well. So it's still a good defense. How? I'm going to be a bit of a broken record here because I think it just portends to doing what's successful, and that is this is a lot of taking what's there and using JSN over the short middle and doing a lot of what we've been doing lately. It might not be what everybody likes. I know Adam sometimes can't stand this like style. And they're not so much bubble screens, but the middle screens to JSN. And what I'd like to see a bit more of, which I think could answer the question, maybe add to it a bit, is look, when we do get into some play action, which we rarely do, and we barely boot, we don't get Geno on the move, and we can access like AJ Barner and just get those easier things, or dump it to K9 in space and let K9 be one-on-one. I'll take that chance, even with good tacklers and good DBs. I don't care. Brandon, I imagine you don't care. If it's K9 versus any one of those DBs, I'm going to take K9 to most often get positive yards. And that's what we're looking for. So it's for me, Phil, it's the shorter things, and then it will open things up later in the game if you also get a little bit of a run game, right, where you could suck the linebackers in and start exposing that second and third layer. But it's got to start with simpler conversions. We've been pretty good at it. Can we be even more in flow? Can we get more AJ Barner? Can we get Geno actually out of the pocket on purpose, not escaping for his life, but on the move? That's how I would attack him. And, I don't think it's actually jet dependent. That's probably what I would do with most of these teams to protect what is a bad offensive line.
Yeah. And we're talking turkey, and Geno's coming up on a contract year. Yeah, this is his probably last chance to really make some good money, and he's coming into his home stretch. Maybe he needs to be more incisive, needs to be a little sharper possibly. How can he serve up some big success against to his playmakers against this group of DBs, Brandon?
Oh, Geno's still under contract through another Thanksgiving year, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's he can still play out one more year under contract. He doesn't have to get a contract this offseason. We can.
Right.
I know that's probably not what Geno wants to hear, though. But if he wants to attack these Jets defensive backs, DJ Reed is playing awfully well this year. I really miss him as a Seahawks corner. And you brought up with Sauce, they're a little bit probably disappointed with his tackling in particular this year. And he has given up the second most amount of yards. Quincy Williams is the guy that has given up the most yards on this Jets defense at linebacker. But they tend to throw like a lot of those little. If you dump it over the middle,
yes.
They count those toward the linebackers. So I think that's where we'll probably see a lot of those throws go. And and a way that's what they did against the Arizona Cardinals, which I was a little bit surprised by, because I thought you could go after the corners. Maybe they'll do the opposite this week and go after the corners with Sauce and DJ Reed and have it kind of be the opposite of what you would do in my mind. But I do like the matchup with especially with DK and Sauce Gardner, because Sauce is not a super physical player. He's good at swatting down stuff that comes into his area. But I think if he's going up against DK, you see how much more physical DK can be, and then make Sauce try and get a tackle on DK. So I think if I'm going to pick a guy to have a big day, it's going to be DK Metcalf.
I like that. And this isn't my question, but speaking of Sauce, I want to run at him and let DK block him into the earth a few times and then beat him with.
Let Tyler Lockett block him. That's fine.
You don't care who.
One more like schematics thing too that I think goes along with this as well is just that the Jets like to play a lot of man cover. They just play man, and Geno's good against man. So like it's a something's got to give type thing. And as good as they are, as talented as they are back there, they are aggressive. They play man, and Geno has shown that he could pick that apart. And we have the wide receiving core to pick that apart. But I still think it's the shorter stuff that will open it up. But I mean, matchup wise, I think it's a pretty good matchup for our boys.
Yeah, good. Brandon, we got some good ones left. Gravy, mash, and cranberry. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, mashed potato. That's my go-to on Thanksgiving. I'm taking it now.
Nice.
That was the one as a boy that mom always had me do, was the mashed potatoes.
You got to make them. You were in the trust tree to make sure that they weren't lumpy.
They all loved the way that I did the mashed potatoes for whatever reason.
There you go.
Because I put everything in there that my mom wouldn't have thought was healthy. Maybe that was a big part of it.
But sausage, cheese.
I was
kind of the loaded baked potato of mashed potatoes.
Yes, I was finding all the good stuff and lots of butter and lots of cream. You know that stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Some people like the sweet potato mash too, but I think I prefer the baked myself. But Brandon, what if we can begin to mash it up the middle in the run game? Why might the Jets be a team to try this on? Maybe you disagree that it's not the team, but can we mash it up the middle? Should the Jets be a team? You said in the Discord we only ran up the middle, that you counted 5 times between the tackles last week. Can we start doing it against this team?
5 times against the Cardinals, if I'm being generous, and including the ones too where it looked like they might have been trying to go outside the tackles and then just got tackled before they could get outside. So yeah, not a lot of running up the middle, which against the Cardinals, I would expect it. Against the Jets, I would think that maybe you take a little bit similar approach and try it more toward the outside, just because, with their linebackers, with Mosley, and I understand he's questionable, but Mosley's a really good linebacker. He's gonna fit it in there. And there probably isn't going to be a whole lot that, when it comes to running it up the middle, especially with Quinnen Williams, their big defensive tackle. You got to worry about him. And I think that this is going to be a tough, if they play up to their talent level, it's going to be a tough Jets team to run against. But I would like to see our Seahawks at least try it, because what's the fastest way to get to one point or another? It's to go straight. And I feel like with the way that Kenneth Walker up the middle, I like him to pick up a few of those yards, and then if he makes one guy miss, he can get off to the races. So I want to see this line moving downhill just a little bit more.
And what about timing too, Clinton? Like, what if we can get some points early and we start to get a little bit of a lead? Is that a good time to try it, or should we not even bother against the Jets?
Actually, to that point, I mean, to steal your question to Clinton, it was the Colts that really got out to a quick start running the football against the Jets, and they buttoned it up as they got later in the game. But yeah, I think that's what the Colts were able to do. They got out to a quick start running the ball right at them.
So the story of the game could have an impact possibly on whether or not we try it. What do you think, Clinton?
Possibly.
Well, I mean, I to answer where you were taking it, Phil, like for me, it's a smash the run button. Like if you get up like we were with the Cardinals, that was one of the more frustrating parts of that game. In fact, on 3 in 3 out, our recap show, my biggest concern, my biggest out was 3rd and 2 from the Cardinals 32-yard line, and we're in shotgun and Geno is strip sacked. You're at 3rd and 2. That is the optimal time to run the ball. And then if you don't get it, you're in 4th down. You can make a decision, long field goal or just another play. Nope, we did long developing play from shotgun, and lo and behold, strip sack. So I think it's absolutely the time to do it. Can we get into a posture and a position where we are up and we can just kind of drain the clock? We'll see. Jets are pretty good defensively though when it comes to like yards per carry against. Their defensive with a rush defense. So I don't think it's something that's like, I don't think we'll crack the code early and be like, oh, look, it's at the half and Walker's sitting with like 62 yards on 10 carries. I don't expect that kind of a line, right? If we did have that kind of a line, like hallelujah, smash the run button 10 more times or 15 more times, even in the second half at 6.2 per carry. I don't expect that though. So I think it has to be inverted. I think the timing is a key aspect to it. I think it's a great point, and thank you for guiding me that way, Phil. But if we're up 10 or up, even up 7 with the ball, up 8 with the ball, and it's time to drain the clock, man, would I love nothing more to just watch that live, because I will be at the Meadowlands with Wilson Kahn watching that one at MetLife Stadium. So yeah, Phil, like please, can we hammer the run late third quarter, early fourth quarter with a lead against a Jets team at that point? Again, they're 3-8. This is a beyond lost season. This is a crumbling season. They have to look out to the horizon and be like, we have a 40-something-year-old quarterback. Like, they have nothing. This team is in disarray. Let's get them into like a very, very drained mindset and then hammer the freaking rock in the fourth quarter. That would be delightful.
I mean, the results could all be good. We could either begin to give our interior line a little bit of confidence if we succeed. If we fail and have a good enough lead, we get some pictures and some things on tape that they can see. Here's where you need to correct. Here's where you need to work on your timing. Here's where you could block a little bit better, at least to show them some real things to where we could move forward. I think it'd be a wasted opportunity if we do have a 2-score lead and we don't try some mashing it up the middle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean, to that point, Phil, I think that, what are our expectations really for the Seahawks team moving forward? So if we can't try and learn some things about our players, learn some things about, how they want to, you have to improve by doing sometimes.
Yeah.
And if we just want to, why would we just throw? If the goal is to win, okay, sure. You go out and you just throw the football around, focus on what you're good at. But I don't get the sense that that's what Coach Mike McDonald wants to do. I think he wants to have a balanced football team. And I think to get there, you have to practice some of those things that you're not necessarily good at. And just the way that he's been talking this week, he's not happy with the run game. I think they will continue to do that. And against the Jets team that's ranked 22nd in the league, they're one spot ahead of the Seahawks, giving up 130 rushing yards per game.
Yeah.
Maybe not a bad team to do that against.
And I got to add one more thing too before we go on, because for me, Brandon, I cannot stand, this is not a you thing, I cannot stand the narrative when we talk about our team or fans talk about their team, be like, well, how far could they really go this year? Like, it's sports. This defense is playing really, really well. There are still 6 football games to play to sharpen things and get better. And then, to your point, the way to win football games is to get balance and run the ball really well, and then pair that with a defense that's suddenly, just clamping down everybody. You pair those things together and you head into late December with a team that can run the ball and is just suffocating on defense. You have a winning recipe to win games in January, and anything can happen when you're in the playoffs. So call me a Pollyanna. I don't care. I bet you Julian Love doesn't sit there and be like, you know what? This is a pretty good up and coming year, but we're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. No way. No, he thinks this team can do it. They've got things to improve, but I know in his heart, he's like, why not? Why couldn't we make a run? So I'm with Julian. I'm just sticking up for, I think, a lot of Seahawks fans out there. I'm just tired of hearing there's some ceiling when it might actually not be there.
But to do it, you can't be terrible at an area. I tend to look at my
100%.
team, my football team, in 5 areas: special teams, stop the run, stop the pass, run, and pass. Just those 5 things. You cannot be awful at any of those 5 things and even have any hope of getting to the Super Bowl. We don't have to be superior or A+ at all 5, and nobody ever is. But if we're going to get this team to where they're ready to do anything in the playoffs, they have to solve this 5th element that right now is garbage. Mm-hmm. And so if we get any chance to try and improve, don't miss that opportunity. There's a window here, because the other 4 of the 5 are at least good. The other 4 of the 5 are at least good. And
I think we're I think we're in violent agreement, like just coming at it from a different, different perspective, but hey, to be successful, we need to run the ball. So let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's Clinton's turn. We all took a lot
Yes,
of turns
I
there.
took Mash with my
Okay.
last turn. So
Nice.
Clinton's.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take the best one remaining, and that's gravy. You got to have good gravy, right?
Best
Let's
one
go.
remaining. You could have just ended at best one. There's nothing like gravy. It makes everything better except for maybe the category you left. But even then, I have ways to include it. And we don't have time to go into all that. But Clinton, let's talk. We think about gravy. I like to cover everything with gravy. I want good coverage, especially if I have to have white meat. You better cover that whole thing with gravy. What if our coverage unit can pour it on against the Jets' pass catchers? Where do you see challenges or advantages in this area of the game we haven't talked about yet?
I see advantages. For a couple of reasons. Simply starting with talent, right? We all saw what the last couple of weeks of Devin Witherspoon have been the second coming of Devin Witherspoon, right? It's been like, okay, he's back. He's quote unquote he's back. I don't think he left per se. I just think he's being put into more advantageous scenarios that are more third and longs, where you could do way more interesting things with a player like that, a weapon like that. And it look no further than the Kyler Murray pick six and everything Witherspoon does in that play. Everyone's fawning over it because they should be. It's an amazing play, top to bottom. But beyond that play, Baldinger, Baldy did some great breakdowns, and others out there have as well. Our coverage has been ridiculously good, and also enough of the tricks that McDonald's now playing that this linebacking crew with this set of DBs seem to really understand, that we're doing a very nice job masking what they think is some form of coverage. Might look like cover zero at the line, and then boom, we're back into a cover three within a half a second. Now, other teams do this quite a bit. When you start to pair that with the ability for when you're getting home or getting pressure as well, and you speed up the clock, and which Rodgers could get sped up, and he gets, he will trust. He's done it for 20 years. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Cannot take that away from him, but he can get sped up just the same. So the long and short of it is, I think there's advantages across the board. Davante Adams is a Hall of Famer. He's great. He's not what he once was. Doesn't mean he can't have a huge game. Garrett Wilson's a heck of a football player. He's a very good wide receiver. A burner, he's not. He's got fantastic hands, but he's not a burner. He creates space. He's a good route runner.
Is he a JSN type, you would say?
No, not specifically. They're different, but if I had
usage, but
but if I had to bucket them, he is a high volume, so yes, in the sense that he's high volume. He's not, typically not 35, 30, 40 yards downfield. It's more slants and on time routes and him using his body. He's bigger body than JSN, and he's got really good hands as well. He's made some phenomenal catches this year. I'll wrap it and just say, I still like our talent versus their talent. And I think we have a scheme advantage we've now been seeing, where you speed that clock up and you have to make them go into tight windows. That, to me, that's advantage us every day of the week. And I left a whole side dish there, Brandon, for our linebacker play, which has been really strong as well. So advantage Seahawks for sure.
And would we be right to say Tyler Conklin's just a serviceable dude, like not bad player, but he's useful? Okay.
I'm not worried about him.
Okay. So where do you see advantages or challenges in our wonderful coverage, Brandon?
Yeah, I think Davante Adams is probably going to be the biggest challenge, because he's one of those guys that, sure, you can try and have a safety over the top. You can put. I'd like to see them put Devin Witherspoon on him to see and kind of do that following around of Davante, because I think that's probably our best matchup. Just that, because Davante Adams is a very physical wide receiver. Even still, we've seen him in some of these previous games catching the football and looking to go through somebody. So I think now that he's in a place where he wants to be with Aaron Rodgers, we'll start to see more of that physicality come out. He's really good at finding space and getting open. But I also think that Witherspoon can be that guy to help shut that down and can match some of that physicality that Adams plays with. And then, whether or not you put Woolen out there, I feel like he could be that guy that on Garrett Wilson. So I like the matchups here, and Clinton mentioned the linebackers. That to me, I don't think that is a mismatch they can necessarily exploit, but the Aaron Rodgers will take a lot of the short stuff. You go back the last two games, Breece Hall out of the backfield, that would be the one that you have to concern yourself with a lot, because Breece, he is really shifty, good in open space with the football, and he was one of the guys against the Colts that they
like
had
all they had against the Cardinals, not to great success, but that's like all they had.
Yeah, and so Breece Hall out of the backfield, and Rodgers likes to go for the short stuff, especially these last two games. I counted, I think, 9 total passes over the last 2 games that traveled 10 air yards or more. Yeah. So 4.5 per game over the last 2 games. And when he is throwing downfield, it isn't effective. You talked about the back foot stuff. It's like a fadeaway jump shot for Aaron at this point. He just doesn't want to get hit. So the pass rush is going to end up playing a big part of that mismatch too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Brandon,
hey, this is just like regular Thanksgiving. What's left at the end of the meal? It's the cranberry sauce.
Well, the thing about the cranberry that's important, and why people through history have added it to their array of food, it's a little contrast, because everything else has the gravy, everything else starts to have a similar taste. You put the cranberry over there and you just have a little nibble in between, so you can come back and appreciate the rest. If we talk contrast, Brandon, are there some nice, refreshing contrasts you like to see on offense or defense? Some stuff to sprinkle in, experiential moments that kind of add to the overall game that you're looking for?
Oh, talking contrast with either the offense or defense. I guess my mind just goes back to the run game for our Seahawks, and how I'd like to see that focused on.
Would you like some certain kind of runs to sprinkle in, some various flavor here and there?
Certain types of runs. Gosh, I feel like I talked about the idea of going up the middle. I'd like pressing the edges though too, especially with the corners. I think that can be a mismatch with the physicality.
In Discord, you had a cool
maybe
idea
we should take this
run.
opportunity to talk a little bit of special teams if we're going to talk contrast, right? Because we haven't really talked about the fact that the Jets are rolling with a backup kicker, even though, gosh, he hit a 58-yarder against the Colts. So it's not like you could say that we have necessarily a mismatch there. But with Michael Dixon, if he can put together another game like he did against the Cardinals, and we're really pinning the Jets back down near their goal line, man, oh man, that makes a big difference. And because you go back to that game against the Cardinals, and where did they have their success? They had their success on drives where they got the ball like around midfield or closer on turnovers. And I think that's the similar case here with our defense, that special teams can really help them out. And if they're pinning them back, Rodgers, I don't see him as the guy who's going to necessarily lead this Jets offense down the field 95 yards. So Michael Dixon, you're a guy I'm thankful for. And I want to see you pinning this Jets offense back inside the 10-yard line like you were doing with the Cardinals.
And speaking of contrast, Clinton is giving us a contrasting video here as we are moving around the hotel or the resort with him. Clinton, are you situated enough where you can share some contrasting things you'd like to see, some things sprinkled in to add a little flavor as we enjoy the meat of the game?
Yeah, the one, and thank you for the extra time there. So the one that I am most interested in seeing, if not on repeat, at least several times where it shows up in big moments, is we talked about Spoon earlier. To me, Spoon is the best defensive player on the field for both teams. So Jets fans, I don't care. Come at me. Sauce is a nice player. Spoon's different, and he's a more all-around football player than Sauce is. He's better. Yeah. I just give any NFL coach a choice of like, what do you want, Sauce or Spoon? I could guarantee you 30 out of 32 would be going with Spoon. The contrast that he could bring is when you set him free, when you get into third and longs or second and longs, and you could allow him to be the more dynamic player that we saw with Kyle Hamilton, right, a year ago with McDonald. Because and I'll just say this way, if we could see Spoon chase down Kyler Murray on the edge and not allow him to get to the outside and get him into a panic mode, just imagine what we could do versus the 40-something-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Like that contrast, that's the contrast I want to see there, because I don't think there's many occasions where that ends positively for the Jets. Maybe a check down he gets away with, things like that. But I think more often than not, that's where it could pitch to a mistake, a deflection, a fumble, an interception, a big hit. That's, to me, let's get that contrast out there, which means get Spoon towards the line, get him involved. And how do we have to do that? Back to question number one, stop the run to set up situations where it's obvious passing. Let's do that.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see Spoon involved. That's why I'm maybe not totally on board with, I like Brandon's idea of having him on Devontae. I just don't want him to shadow all the time, because I want him to be able to do Spoon things and just play where the ball's coming. We will get to our What If Superhawks from the two of you here in a moment, your wish. But we did ask our From the Flock to put in their Discord some wishes that they had. We're recording earlier this week, so we only got 3, but I am happy with the 3 that we did get. So thankful for those in the Discord dropping their wishes in the well. Josh DeHuman, he wishes for better run protection. I think ideally he's looking for some good blocking, maybe some of that mashing it up the middle, so the Hawks can get 100 yards rushing total. Please, 100 yards rushing. Karkar, her wish, we get a proper shutout and leave the Jets scoreless with 6 ins on the 3 in, 3 out. We've been waiting for one of those ever since it's been promised. And then Designed Pete's Beach House, she wishes we stop the run for the 4th game in a row. So how about we hear your wishes? Clinton gets to go first. I got my pen. I am ready to write down your wish for this game in New Jersey.
Oh, what do I really want for this game? All right, I'm going to go. I believe in our defense. I believe in Harvey Dent. I think we're going to do what we got to do defensively. So let's flip it over to the offensive side. And I won't be as bombastic and say 100 yards. I just don't see it happening. How about a really nice 80-yard rushing day from Kenneth Walker III? Just however he gets it. I don't care about YPC. I really don't. 80 yards on the ground or more. That's enough of a wish. And I feel like it's bold enough, given he hasn't really sniffed that in quite a while. 80 yards, K9. That'd be a pretty good formula for success, I think.
We'll take it. I mean, 80-yard average is awesome. That's like almost a 1,300-yard season. Right?
Exactly.
Or maybe better. Yeah, 80 yards is a good game. Brandon, how about you? Your What If Superhawk? What's your wish for this matchup?
Yeah, my wish for this matchup is DK Metcalf, because you look over the last 5 games and he's only had more than 6 catches one time, and that was against the San Francisco 49ers. And so, 3-4 catches here and there. That's not enough DK Metcalf for me in my life. I want more DK. So 6 catches or more against the New York Jets defense.
6 catches from Brandon. So last week, I think I left your wishes here. Last week, Clinton was going for Julian Love to cause a turnover and McBride under 50. Well, we didn't do those.
Love was so close.
Yeah, Love was that was such a good play on that ball.
Great snag, but out of bounds there. And then 80 rushing for K9 is what
I probably said 80 total, and so that was at least what I meant to say, Phil.
You probably didn't, because I wrote it down. But you got the win because you picked the bigger margin. 29-20 versus 23-17 at Clinton. So you are now up 3 games. Clinton, you really need to nail this score, because you need to win if you don't get your wish, or if you both do. What are you expecting? What are you predicting for the final score in New Jersey?
Yeah, so I'll go at it. Low scoring affair, a little bit of a slogfest, good defense. Again, 19-16 Seahawks victory, win by 3, a tight game where it's like nervousness on both sides. But we we get the victory. We win by 3, but I do not sense an offensive explosion coming for either of these squads.
I could see it. We need this win. I mean, we cannot afford to lose winnable matchups.
Yeah.
Brandon, what's your prediction?
Again, Clinton not going bold enough. I'm going 24-18. The Seahawks get almost a touchdown over the Jets, but yeah, it's a
Almost. It is an
comfortable,
actual touchdown. So
comfortable victory, an actual
is, it
touchdown
is.
without either the extra point or yes, very literal. Thank you, Phil.
Yes. So that's how about this? It's a touchdown where one of our players does his best Marshawn and we miss an extra point, but we still win by 6. We'll take it.
I'm thinking that, we get our 24. It's the traditional 3 touchdowns with the extra points, a field goal. The Jets go for a late 2 because they're trying to play catch up, and that's how they get to 18.
I like it.
okay, like that. That would be weird, but I could see that. I could see 24-18. I just want to win, gentlemen. We can't lose to these teams where we're favored. Very frustrating when that takes place.
Yep.
Anything else you need to add on this matchup that we missed?
Nothing for me, man.
Well, with that, what if we say
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Go
Beat
Hawks.
the Jets. Let's have another butt fumble. That'd be fine.
That's it. And happy
Maybe 2.
Thanksgiving to 2 butt fumbles, 2 legs, and happy Thanksgiving across the board.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Go Hawks.
And also go Hawks.